they come along, I won't think twice.
Good afternoon and welcome to The Cure radio show. I'm your host, Aimee Cabo, joined by Boris, my other half. The show is live, airing from New York. This show deals with suffering and the tenacity of the human spirit, the will to survive, and the courage to keep moving forward, despite any obstacle, with the help of God and each other. Today we are blessed to have Dario Herrera with us today. At age 22, Dario got elected to the state legislature in Nevada. At age 25, he got elected to the powerful Clark County Commission. At age 28, he won the Democratic nomination for the House of Representatives, 3rd District in Nevada. And not long after, Dario was convicted and sentenced to 50 months in federal prison for his role in a public corruption scandal. So he went from the future of the Democratic Party to inmate number 386218. Dario Herrera has had a tremendous story of remarkable success, failure, resilience, and redemption. But his story is so much more than the entrepreneurial business. Abandoned by his father at age 2, then again by his mother at age 15. Dario's drive and resilience led him to college, where he graduated summa cum laude. Dario, thank you for being with us and welcome to The Cure.
Thank you, Aimee. Thank you, Boris.
Dario, here's the thing. This is crazy. I can't believe that at 22 you were in politics. How is it that somebody gets involved into politics at such a young age?
Yeah, and sometimes, I mean, it's been my life, and I often still, when I reflect on it, can't believe that I was given that opportunity. And, I had never been involved in politics. My family wasn't politically connected or politically oriented. And then I took my first political science class from my professor. Her name is Dina Titus. She's now a congresswoman, longtime state senator in Nevada. She's a congresswoman now. And I fell in love with politics.
And what was the driving force? It's incredible because your father abandoned you and your mother abandoned you.
It was hard, Aimee. But I also had somewhat of a support system. For example, my basketball coach, really looked after me. My sister and I, she's a year older than me. We lived by ourselves for most of high school. I was 15. She was 16. We had jobs. We paid rent. We got ourselves to and from school, to and from work. But my basketball coach was really a big influence in my life. But I think part of it, and I don't talk about this very often, but I think part of it was God's work, honestly. If you look at a kid from my background and my experience, I don't know where the drive came from. Something clicked.
But then, just when everything seemed to be going your way, you went from a rising star in politics to a prison inmate because you accepted bribes from a strip club owner. What happened?
Oh, such a difficult question, honestly. I have, as you can imagine, thought about that very, very deeply. I've prayed about it. I've meditated on it. I've gone through therapy to really understand that. And I think the common answer I come up with is I didn't feel like I deserved success. I didn't feel like I was worthy of the trust that people had given me. I didn't feel, subconsciously, of course, qualified to be in such an important position of power. I, came from really being abandoned multiple times. And in retrospect, my self-love, my self-worth was seriously lacking. And I lied to myself. I said, yes, I can, accept bribes from such and such without it affecting my decision-making, without it making me partial to that person or to their issues. I didn't think anyone was looking. I thought myself above the law. I knew better. I fell into the temptation of power and money and women, and it took my career obviously in a very, very different direction and very, very quickly. And most importantly, it had a tremendous impact on my family. You know, I lost my wife. I was estranged from my children. And the hardest part of the entire process was, you know, that losing my family, and then secondarily knowing that I ran for office to restore faith in politics, faith in the process, and I did exactly the opposite. I confirmed what people believe about politics. I let the people who support me down. I basically betrayed the trust that had been given me.
That happens to so many of us, Dario. You don't need to be a politician. I've been praying rosaries since I was a little girl, and I got lost. I went into the crazy world of what was a fallacy, what I thought would have made me happy, what I thought was what I needed. And it's really refreshing when your eyes are opened and you see what's really important in life and what really counts.
I have so much admiration for you, Aimee. You know, obviously I've read your book, and I see, you know, the work you do, not just with the show, but in your public speaking and the things you do in the community. And you're such an inspiration to all of us, right? And, you know, things that you experienced as a young girl and your development are horrible, and yet you maintain faith. You continue to believe. You continue to serve, and I have to say, you know, you're really an inspiration to me personally, and certainly to, I know, the community that you're building online and offline. You know, your story is remarkable, and I just wanted to recognize you for that, because it's the stuff that you went through and the life you're living today and the family you've built is nothing short of a miracle. It's obviously, you know, divinely inspired, divinely guided, but I think, you know, what you've done to prepare yourself to receive those blessings is nothing short of incredible.
How did you handle the downfall, the getting sentenced, the losing your family? Was that awakening call for you, or did that drive you down the wrong path even further?
I think more than an awakening, it was, and I know people are surprised when I say this, but it was a relief. I remember when I surrendered and I was sitting in the holding cell before I got transferred to the federal prison camp. I remember feeling relief. Relief in that I no longer had to live a life that wasn't mine. Relief that I didn't feel like a fraud anymore, that I had to pretend to be someone who I wasn't, that I had to make people happy, and that I could, you know, come to terms with things that I did. And that I could really, in that moment, make one of two choices. You know, live in denial and blame other people for, you know, the things that I did, or accept responsibility and really begin to start the repair process, and not just with my family, but with myself, right? And really start the long journey of, you know, establishing or keeping a relationship with my children.
We are talking to Dario Herrera about redemption.
I had trouble, you know, finding work in the Bay Area because of my background. And there I wasn't, unlike Las Vegas, I had no network in the Bay Area. It was just, you know, my wife and me. Very interestingly enough, the gentleman who was the jury consultant on my case was the jury consultant for this Cuban business owner who had done very well, but also had to serve federal time. And he said, you should reach out to him. So I did, and they gave me a trial. They basically put me on staff, and I surpassed their expectations. I, you know, did more than they expected me to. I was very successful. And then, you know, my wife, Shelly, her brother is, the music superstar Pitbull. He was going through a transition in his organization. She was helping him through that. He needed, marketing help, in particular, social and digital media. So I started learning about social and digital media, and we did a good job for Pitbull, and then we worked with his vodka company, and then Daughtry, from American Idol, his manager reached out to us, and then before you know it, we had Three Doors Down, the American Music Awards, Sony Records, Lil Wayne, and many others hiring us, for our expertise and our ability to help them build their brand online.
And what was the driving force? Were you able to forgive yourself and able to move on and able to rectify your ways?
Well, that, yes. I think the driving force was this desire to make things right with the people that I hurt, and the people that I hurt the most were my children. And I had to provide for them. I had to provide for them. They were without me for a long time.
So that's when you stop being selfish and you put your family before you. And that's what I wanted to bring out. It's when we put others first and we realize it's not about us. It's not about how I can get ahead, but how can I be a benefit to others.
No, that's a good point, because I never, to me, like, staying down was never an option. To me, letting my political fall being the last chapter of my story was never an option. I knew that some way, somehow, I had to get back on my feet. I had to provide for my family. I had to repair my relationship with their mom, my children, the community, myself. And I was just never going to let me being indicted, convicted, sentenced be, the last story of my chapter. And I just went to work. You do a little every day. You chip away at it. You remain strong. And I think, and this is part of what I talk about in my speech called Stand Up. The first thing is you stop telling yourself stories that no longer serve you. And the story for me was that I wasn't capable of being loved, and I wasn't worthy of the position that I had. I stopped telling myself that story and started to believe in myself. And the second one is, trust that if you do the next right, best thing, you are going to be okay, if you trust. And then A, of course, in the stand-up is accept responsibility. And I did accept responsibility. And I served time with guys who blamed it on someone else. They blamed it on the guy who told on them. They blamed it on their partner. They blamed it on the law enforcement. And I knew the only person I had to blame was myself.
When we're back, we will continue talking to Dario Herrera about resilience, perseverance, and redemption. I'm Aimee Cabo, and this is The Cure. We are talking about recovery through redemption with Dario Herrera. Dario, I've read that you've given some strong, impassioned, motivational speeches to people who have served time and are trying to get back on their feet. And you're a great example that there's hope for people who have been in jail. So could you tell us more about why you're doing what you're doing and what you hope to accomplish?
Well, I think if my experience and the things that I went through can serve someone else, there's meaning in it. There's power in it. It will have served the purpose. I think it's important, given my experience and my desire to serve others, that I share my story and I share the process of, when you fall down, how you stand back up. The title of the speech that I give is called Stand Up, where Stand Up is an acronym, and it basically, takes us through the 7 steps that you have to take to get back on your feet.
I think it starts a lot with negative talk. We feel like we self-sabotage ourselves because of negative talk, and psychiatrists want you to believe that, want you to believe you're broken. But I read this book about the saints who battle Satan, and I happen to know that you're not supposed to think negative, and you're not supposed to do bad things. Those are called temptations. It's a little thought. I call it the first stupid thought. Don't go for that. Take a moment to think. It's usually from you or from God.
I went from being, almost famous to infamous to Legend Dario. It's pretty interesting arc.
Well, I was infamous first. Let's see what happens. Dario, we're reaching an end of the show, so maybe a few words for our listeners of encouragement.
In terms of parting words, I think I'll go back to the notion that we all really do have everything we need within ourselves to build the life we want. And the important thing is that we recognize it, we own it, we accept responsibility, and that we have this never-ending belief in ourselves that we have been created to do good things on this planet. If we hang on to that and if we focus on that every day, everything's going to be okay, no matter what happened in the past, what's happening today, or what tomorrow may bring.
Thank you, Dario. Thank you so much for being with us. More information can be found on
2dudescreative.com. 2dudescreative.com.
that one. Teacher God, take the reins of my life. Lead me where I should go. Teach me what is best. Help me to persevere when times are tough. When I fail, redeem me and lift me up. In your Son's name I pray. Amen. And until next week, much love.